Good morning, and welcome to CabWriter Comprehensive 3, Part 8. Where we left off in Part 7, we finished the cleanup phase of the upper cabinets. Remember, we started here and worked our way counterclockwise around the project, finishing with the refrigerator cabinet. Now, I have a confession to make. While I was preparing for this video, I checked things over and noticed that this cabinet still had another error. One of the errors it had was the width of the opening. The width was, I believe it was, well, let me just check what this final correct version is. Yeah, that's 36 and 9/16. That's the correct number. What we had drawn previously, or what I had drawn previously, was 35 and a 16th. I don't know where I got that from, but this is the kind of thing that happens when you're drawing. And so I simply redrew the cabinet. We struggled a lot with this refrigerator cabinet, and partly because it's at an angle, and partly because refrigerator cabinets are not common. We don't do a lot of them. And they have this weird starting place up here instead of where cabinets normally start. So I suppose I'll apologize for my mistakes, but I think we learn from those kinds of things. So what we're going to do today is we're now going to work on the base. And like before, we're going to start here. We're going to work our way all the way around until we get over here. Now, there's going to be a number of changes on the base. And these two cabinets right here are the biggest culprits. This one we have to put some back panels on, if you will, back sheets. And this one's more complicated. We have to cut that to an angle. So it's going to take a while. It may take more than one video. We'll see. But let's get started. This is the finished model. And I want to look at what we have to do over here. So let me take the custom parts away and get a good look at what we have to do. We're going to put these 3 sheets on the back. And so what we're going to have to do is extend this end out to 3/4. Well, we're going to have to extend it out so it lines up with this sheet that's going to go here. But this sheet is going to be 3/4 from the back of the cabinet. Same here. This sheet is going to connect with these 2 sheets with this angle here. So we'll have to create that angle. So let's go back to our current drawing and let's see what we have to do. So here's our current drawing. The first thing I want to do is outline everything we need to do here. I'm going to start just adding construction lines like this. And now I'm going to bring this construction line out 3/4 of an inch. And I'll bring this one out 3/4 of an inch. And I'll bring this one out also 3/4 of an inch. And let me add one more here. 0 offset. Now I think I can draw what it is I need. Start there, go there, 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 and back. Now use the push-pull. Okay, now let's just make sure we know what this cabinet number is. And it's C4L. Now I'm going to make a CabWriter component of this. Make it C4L. It's going to be part of the sheet panel. End sheet, but I'm going to call it back sheet. I'll give it the same instance name. I'll CabWriter protect it and say OK. Down here is the result of all of that. C4L SP for sheet panel, back sheet. Instance name back sheet. It belongs to subassembly C4L SP and is CabWriter protected. All right. Next thing I want to do is I want to clip this. I want to clip it right there. So I'll unlock it, edit it. Now there's two of them. This and this are the same part. So it's asking me, do I want to unlock both? And I do. So now I'll edit both at the same time. I'll go from here to here. And I'll bring it down to there. Now, this one doesn't appear to be edited, but if I look at the other end, it is. So I have to flip it. And let's try flipping it along the red axis first, see what happens. Well, I got my angle down here that I wanted, but it's not quite right. So let me flip it along green. And that's better. So it's a case where you have to flip along 2 axes. Sometimes flipping doesn't work and you have to use rotating and things like that. And sometimes a combination of flipping and rotating. But this worked by flipping it both in the red and green axis. Now I can draw this guy. And I'll bring him down with the push-pull tool. Bring him down to here. Make that a component. Again, C4L. And again, it's a sheet panel. End panel. I'm going to call this, I'll call it diagonal sheet. And I'll use the same name for the instance name, CabWriter protected, and say OK. Now notice that the bounding box is not right. I have to fix that. So I'll right click, change axis, and I'll just go like that. All right, one more piece to draw over here. Well, I'm going to have to bring the wall in on this one. I have to bring in the east wall. And I think what I'm going to do is go right to that point, out to that point, and back. And I think I've got it. And again, I'm going to call this wall sheet. I'll make it a CabWriter component. C4L. It's a sheet panel. End sheet. I'm going to call it wall sheet. Give it the same instance name. And it's CabWriter protected. And I'll say OK. All right, now I'm going to get rid of these guides. I don't need them. I have one more thing I have to do up here. I got to bring this out to the end. So I'll just pull it out to there. There we go. We have our backs added. So let's go around now and see what else we have to pick up. And just to be sure of what we want, I'm going to use the Select Cabinet tool to let me highlight things. Nothing there. This is fine. This belongs to this cabinet, and this belongs to this cabinet. That's fine. That's an opening. Let's choose this one. Okay, that's fine. Here we have an issue. And I'm going to give you a tip. You can easily spot, most of the time, styles that are being shared by looking at the toe kick. And when you see that kind of pattern, and over here too, that's an indication that you're sharing styles. So what I want to do is choose one of these, and I really don't care which one. Just delete it, because I still have one left. Now in this case, I have to choose the upper style. So I'll reselect and choose that one, unlock it, delete it. I've got an issue here. I'm missing a sheet here. I'll fix that in a moment. Again, here I have to keep this style, and this one I want to unlock and delete it. All right, let's go and look at what we have to do here to fix this. If we look in the original drawing, the problem that I noticed a moment ago is that there's no sheet, end sheet here. This end sheet right here, the other drawing did not have an end sheet. And I suspect that this cabinet, instead of being up against an end sheet, is actually up against this side instead of the end sheet. So I think we're going to have to create an end sheet here, and I think the way we do that is we have to change this style from what it is now, which is a connector style, to a right end sheet. Move this cabinet to the right. And the other problem I saw is we have to create an end sheet here, going back all the way up against the wall. So we'll go back and make those changes. Now to test out my theory, I just want to bring in the upper boxes. And as I thought, this cabinet is up against this side, and there should be a sheet here. So we're going to move this cabinet to the right. And I'm going to move it 3/4 of an inch. So an easy way to do that is use the move tool. It says it starts here, and goes here. Well, 3/4 of an inch is half of this stile. So if I go to the center, the midpoint here on this stile, click, then I can go out here any place, the midpoint of this one perhaps, and I've just moved my cabinet to the right 3/4 of an inch. Now notice this stile, look up here in the entity info, is a right end connector. I want it to be a right end sheet. So I can redraw this cabinet. Actually, I don't want to redraw it. I want to edit the story stick. The left connector I'm going to leave alone. The next one, instead of a right connector, I want it to be a right sheet. So I'll say OK. Be patient. Really patient. And now I have the right sheet. Now the only problem with that right sheet is it goes down over top of the side of this cabinet. So I need to edit that. Make sure I get the right one. That's a right end sheet right there. So I want to unlock it, edit it, and with the push-pull tool, I'm going to bring it up. And the question is, where do I want to bring it up to? I want to bring it right to there. So that should be correct now. And we now have this cabinet up against a sheet. All right. Now I need to put an end sheet on this. I think the easiest way to do that is to just, I'll use the rotate rectangle tool. Come along that. And I think this wants to be 23 3/16. I think that will, yep. And I want to push-pull it to there. So that'll be 3/4 of an inch. So let's go around front. And we're going to make it a component and add it to this cabinet, which is C7L. Oh, that reminds me. I've got to change this one back to C8L. And this one, we're going to make that a component. C7L. And it's a sheet panel, an end sheet, And I'm going to call it right end sheet. Check to make sure that that says yes, so we've got it protected. And by the way, since we modified this, we should protect it too. So I'll right click and say, CabWriter, set protection. All right, now the only thing we have left, I believe, we did this in a previous part. So I think what we have to do now is this, put the 45-degree angle on this two-door standard base. So let's just look at the current drawing or the completed drawing and see what we have to do. Let's take the custom parts layer out of here so we can see what we have to do over here. The most important dimension here, I think, is this one right here. That's 12 inches. It's 12 inches to the point where the end of the cabinet turns at a 45-degree angle to here. And you notice that there's a stile here. And one of the things I need to do is make sure that at this point, this 45-degree line to here will represent the front of this face frame, albeit only stiles. And those will be 13, 13/16 wide. This is 3/4 of an inch wide. I don't know why I'm getting the approximate sign there. There it is. 3/4 of an inch wide, and this is 13/16. So let me outline that. Also, these are 1.5 inches. The face of these are 1.5 inches. Here, here, and here. Those all three are 1.5 inches on the face. So with that information, let's go back and see what we can do. All right, so let's mark off $12 inches. And from that, let's mark off 45 degrees. Now that's going to be the front of the face frame. So the other thing we want the face frame is 13/16 inch thick, so I'll mark that off. And this is going to be right here along this line is where I'm going to cut the top and bottom at a 45-degree angle. So let me do that right away. And I want to view well, before I do that, let me mark this. All right, now I'll look at it. I'll hide rest of model. And let's, now I have to be a little careful here I have to be very careful here. I'll mark this. To get rid of this tongue. And now I can get rid of the rest of that. And I can erase this. Now I'm going to have to come back later and take a little off this, but I won't worry about that right at the moment. Oh, let me get rid of the construction line. Okay, now I have to do the same thing to the bottom. So let's just clear everything, clear all the layers, and let's just bring back the base boxes. So now I can get at the bottom. And I'm going to bring this same line down along the blue. I'll lock in the blue with the up arrow to this bottom surface. And let me edit that. I'm going to put a mark right there. Hopefully I'll be able to see that. Let me unlock it, edit it, and bring in the rest of the model just for the moment. Oh, come on. And what I want is put a 45-degree line right there. All right, now I can hide the rest of the model. And I think I have it. Okay. Let me get rid of the... Whenever you have these construction lines within an edit component mode, you got to get rid of them before you leave edit component mode. It's something I often forget to do, but it's really helpful to do it. And I can get rid of this one now. And I can get rid of this construction point. Okay. Now, I can do the same thing to the shelves, but the difference is that if I bring this line down to the shelves, since the shelves are set back, and they're set back 1/4 of an inch from the sides, and the way that's done is, by the way, the clearance. When you specify a clearance for a shelf, we typically specify 1/8 of an inch. However, because the shelf has to be up against the back, it ends up being set in here 1/4 of an inch. So we need to do that. We need to bring this line down, but then we need to move it back 1/4 of an inch. So let's do that. Bring it down along the blue to there. And we need to bring it back 1/4 of an inch. So I want to make sure I'm on this surface, so I'll hold this along that edge and I'll type 1/4 of an inch. And now I can get rid of the one in front. Edit this. And I want to unlock both shelves so I can edit both of them at the same time. And I'll view rest of model so I can see that line I put there. And now I can hide rest of model. Oh, wait. No, I can't. So what I'll do, I'll go from here out to on that line. Now I'll have a line sticking out here, but that's okay. Now I can hide the rest of the model. And hopefully that's an end point right there. Now I can erase that. And I think I have that done. So I can erase now. I think I can now erase. Oh, I may need this up here, but I can get rid of this one. All right, now the toughest thing we're going to have to do here is we need to move these holes, keep them intact and not lose anything. We need to move it back here. So what I want to do is I want to edit this. And view rest of model. And I'm going to put, oops, I'm going to put two construction points, one there and one there, to let me know where I have to come back. And what I'm going to try and do is take this part of this front and move it back to this point right there. So I'm going to hide rest of model right now. This is going to be the trickiest part of this whole thing. You want to pay close attention to what I'm about to do here. Let's see if I can look at this wrong side. That's better. Let's see what happens if I use the select tool in a left to right way. Let's see what I've selected here. Okay, let me delete that. Notice I used it in a left to right fashion to get these two holes. I'm going to delete those. Now what I want to make sure of is that I didn't delete the front or back surface. So far, so good. Now this is really tricky, and what you're going to find is that undo is your friend. If you should lose a surface, you definitely want to do an undo. The other thing I'm going to delete, and I'm going to look at this with X-ray, is I'll delete that line, that line, that line, in that line. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. So let me do the same thing to the bottom. Up, wrong side. So it's, I'm going to go left to right. Delete those. Now let me look, see if I selected what I thought I'm selecting. And it looks like I did. I'm going to delete that. And like I did before, I'll delete this line. This line. This line. And this line. And again, I want to make sure that I've not lost either this surface or this one out here. So far, so good. Now it's repair time. No, now it's move time. So again, I'm going to choose left to right. And I'm going to do it so that I get all of this information here and the end. I don't know if I got this. I did. Okay. And I'm going to move it with the move tool. I'm going to move it to that point right there. And again, I want to go around, make sure I still have the other surface. I do. Everything looks okay. Now it's repair time. So I'll look at this way. And I want to connect that endpoint right there to that endpoint. And I should zoom in here really close. Make sure I'm getting the right endpoints. To that one. I think I've got it. So let me leave X-ray, delete this, and take a look at this. Oh, I'm missing. I'm missing something. Something here. Let me delete that. Not sure how I did that, but now I've got it. I need to inspect these very carefully. And I think This is the wrong color here, so I'm just going to reverse faces. And let's edit that again. I think I have it. I haven't lost anything over here. Let's go to the bottom. Well, I think I know how I created that problem before. I think I probably went from here to here instead of from here to here. That's what I'm guessing. But let me go in here and make sure I get the right point. Go from here. Here. Get rid of that. And let's inspect things very carefully. Okay, I think I've got everything. Let's go around this side and look. Now what I have to do is bring this line out. To that point right there. I'll get rid of my guide points. And the other thing I'm going to have to do, of course, is bring the bounding box back, or the axis. The bounding box is fine. But let me change axes. And I'm going to use X-ray tool to do this. I'm going to go from here to here to here. And there we go. All right, I think we successfully did that. But here's something we need to fix. Notice I have a tongue here, but that tongue has to come back to here. And not only does it have to come back to here, but if I select this top, notice that it stops an 1/8 of an inch from the end. So what I have to do, I'm going to edit this. I'm going to edit the top. I'm going to look at the rest of the model. And I'm going to create a line, 1/8 of an inch back from here. I hope I'm doing this right. And now I'm going to hide rest of model. And I'll bring a line out. Along the red to there. Along the blue to there. And I've got to bring it up to there. So let's see what I've got now. All right, I think I've got it. I can erase this line too. And that's it. Now I'm going to do the bottom offline so I don't take so much time here online. I'll do the bottom offline, then I'll come back and we will put the doors on. Okay, I'm back and I fixed up the bottom. So now let's bring in the rest of the base. Now the other thing we have to fix up is this side. Remember that this point here, 12 inches, was the corner of the stile. So what we have to do is edit the side here. And we'll view the rest of model. And I just want to check and make sure that's 45. And indeed it is. So I should be able to bring this down. I'm going to have to fix up the axes. Okay. So we got that done and that done. Now I think we can draw in. I think we can draw in the style. Come over here 1.5 inches. And come back 13/16. I guess maybe I need to have a construction line. I'll lock in with the Shift key. Go to that endpoint. That's not going to let me do that. Well, I'll do it this way. No, that's not what I want. This is what I want. $90. Let me just check that this is 1.5 inches. And it is. I'll bring this down. Okay. One more check. 13/16. All right, now I'm going to make this a component, and I'm going to attach it to this cabinet, which is C12L. And I'm going to call it a left end sheet. It's part of the face frame. It's a style. It's a sheet style. I'm going to call it left end sheet. And I'll give it the same instance name. And let's see, C12L face frame left end sheet, and it's C12LFF subassembly, and it's protected. All right. Now I can get rid of these. Now I'm gonna, these two doors, by the way, notice that there's two of them in the model. This and this are the same door. I'm going to bring this one out. I'm also going to make it unique. I'm going to move it out here and save it for a second. Bring it out 60 inches and save it. This I'm going to delete all together. And I'm going to put another construction line here and then bring it out. I'm going to bring it out 13/16. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a style here that's got a face that's 1.5 inches. So let's see if I can draw that. Whoops, that last one wasn't right. Let me zoom in here. I think I got that right. Looks right. I'm going to bring that down here. I'm going to make a CabWriter component out of it, C12L. It's part of the face frame. It's a style, but it's a connector style. And I'm going to call it center connector. And I'll give it the same instance name. And it's protected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. (180 degrees) with the rotate copy. So I have to push the control key and make sure I type in 180. Now I'll use the move tool. Pick it up at this point. Bring it to this point. And now I'll use the rotate tool. Whoops, wrong one. Well, let me just choose it to make sure I get the right one. There we go. So we have those two. Now I believe I can get rid of this. I believe I can get rid of this. Not sure what that is, but I'll get rid of it. And I'll get rid of this construction point. Well, that may be part. Nope, it's not. There we go. All right, now this one, I have to edit this, unlock it. And I'm going to bring it all the way out to this point here. Now that's going to leave me no gap but that's okay. Because now I can go to View, Hide Rest of Model, and I'll bring it back the dimension of the gap, which is 3/32. And there we are. All right, so that one's in place. I'm going to put this one in place. I'll pick it up. I'll attach it to that point right there. I'll use the rotate tool. Now I have to do two things, or three things actually. I got to move this down 3/32. I got to move it this way 3/32, and I have to make it wider. So let me use the move tool. Come down along the blue axis 3/32. I'll use it again and come along that axis 3/32. And lastly, I'll do the same thing I did with the other one. What I can do, maybe, make it a little quicker, is come out here 3/32. Leave myself a construction point. Edit this. View rest of model. And bring it out to the construction point. And if I did that correctly, that should be a gap of 3/32. And it is. So now I can get rid of my construction point. And probably get rid of this one too. All right. Now this door is called door front number 1. What I want to make that is, I don't know, perhaps left door. But I can't do it with that tool. If I rename this part with the Extended Entity Info tool, I'll lose all of the attributes in it. So I have to do it with this. And so I'll just call it left door. And by the way, it's a panel, and I want to copy this and make the instance name the same. By the way, it's very important that I get the right subtype in here, because it's the subtype that stores the attributes for oversizing and things like that. So if I don't get this right, I don't get the right attributes for the part, the Extended Entity Info attributes. So I'll say OK. And I'll do the same to this one. I'll make this the panel. And I'll make this right door. I'll give it the same instance name. All right, we've done it. That's it. So I'll see you in part 9 when we will work on the latter base. Until then, have a good day.